Gibraltar is blessed with a rich variety of natural and human history. The rock and the town below have been home to many cultures and people over the centuries. The artifacts, monuments and memories that remain become our heritage, a common inheritance which we all share. And as Gibraltar moves forward and grows, it is up to us as a society to make sure this heritage endures and becomes a part of our future as well. Leading this effort is the Gibraltar Heritage Trust, an independent statutory body entrusted with the preservation of our heritage, whose aim it is to ensure that modern Gibraltar retains history and heritage at its heart. Since South Barracks was built to house the garrison in 1730, the South District of Gibraltar has been a focal point of life and social activity. As is customary in many places, at the centre of social life is often the church. Central Hall, as we now know it, originally South Barracks Church, served the families stationed here as a place of worship, education and song. Since it ceased to be a church, it has very much continued its role as a social hub for the community, being home to a multitude of events, weddings, dances, fashion shows and sports, to name a few. After many years of community use and enjoyment, Central Hall began to show its age. So in 2020, a restoration effort commenced to give some love and care to this much beloved place.
So when we looked at the hall, obviously it was in need of a refurbishment and the floor was in a very bad state. And obviously wear and tear of the place, it's normal that would happen. I decided to investigate the void to see what was up there, because I thought it was very strange, because from the outside I could see it was very tall. And I said, well, it doesn't look very tall from the inside. And I discovered that the steel beams were still there, and we thought that it would be very nice to sort of expose them, give it the whole sort of a new lease of life, no? Back to sort of its origins. Originally it was a MOD chapel, although it's a very large chapel, but it was still a chapel nonetheless. St. Joseph's School used to be the barracks, and there's two houses where the senior officers used to reside. Then after that it was handed over to the government and became a community venue. Somewhere along the line, probably in the late 60s, 70s, the false ceiling was installed, and basically the beauty of the ceiling was forgotten. Nobody really noticed that the voids of the windows were there until sort of you had to really look at it, you know? And then you saw, oh wait, hang on, there's a massive 5-meter window there. We sort of thought that we might just expose it and fix it, replace the glass. The glass was all broken. It was just the plain clear glass. But then again, as it seemed to happen with this project, and as well with the heritage, it was sort of suggested that we should put it out to competition to design a window with a sort of a local theme, or with any sort of theme pertaining to the hall. So we did that. We went out to a competition. It was won by a local artist. Currently the windows are being manufactured. They should be fitted before the end of the year. So we're really happy with the whole process and how it's gone about, and I think it would be a great addition to the hall.
I did my Part 1 degree in architecture, and I did a bit of work experience here and there. I've always been fascinated by the work of Gaudí, the Sagrada Familia especially. So when I heard about this project, I thought I want to draw upon his kind of genius. Architecture, I enjoyed it, but I felt it wasn't for me, and that led me into teaching, and that's what I do now, and that's my vocation. So I love what I do, but I bring a lot of my art and design from architecture into my work. So I started with a brief. I wanted to be informed by something, and I knew that Central Hall was once a church. That's something I hadn't known before, in the 1800s, I think. It's currently a wedding venue, and it's a dance hall. So that gave me a lot of inspiration. The window itself is east-facing, so that's very significant because it's where the sun rises. So with that, I had enough to go off on. And again, looking at Gaudí's sort of Sagrada Familia and the stained glass windows that were commissioned there, I wanted something a bit more abstract, but that encompassed all three of those things. The design did change over time. I had in mind a heart or a star as symbols of light and hope. That was more the religious kind of paying homage to the fact it was a church. Mary the Morning Star, or Christ the Light of the World, shedding light into the hall. And then I had these two dancers that were basically celebrating their love for each other and the love for dancing that they do maybe on a weekly basis at Central Hall. I'd never designed a stained glass window before, so it is different because you've got to consider how the glass is going to come together, the different parts to it. And again, so I started by looking at what already exists and what I think is incredible artwork and incredible stained glass design. And from there I could tell that I really had to think about the structure of this or the composition of this piece. I know that currently the manufacturers are working on it and we are in contact with them, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the final outcome and the final product, especially when it's nice and early and the sun is shining inwards, and see what kind of light that casts on the actual hall. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Bienvenidos todos a Villarca. Nosotros somos un taller especializado en vidriera, especializado en la creación, restauración y conservación de vidrieras, vitrales artísticos. Y bueno, toda esta historia empezó en 1985 con mi padre. Yo y mi hermano Nacho somos la segunda generación de artesanos que seguimos con esta tradición y con esta empresa. Mi padre en 1985 aprendió el oficio en Segovia, allí estuvo pues de aprendiz, porque la artesanía pues siempre tradicionalmente se ha aprendido siendo aprendiz en un taller, ayudando a un maestro, y ahí vas cogiendo todos los aprendizajes del oficio. Y entonces estuvo un tiempo aprendiendo en el taller de un maestro que en aquel momento llevaba la conservación de la Catedral de Segovia. Y después bajó a Málaga con la intención de abrir profesionalmente ya su taller de vidrieras. Con el transcurso del tiempo pues fue adquiriendo más experiencia y accediendo a trabajos, entonces al final llegó a ser el maestro artesano de la Catedral de Málaga y estuvo hasta el 2003 en este cargo haciendo esa labor en la catedral. Nuestra especialización es hacer productos únicos, exclusivos y que no hay dos iguales. Desde que el cliente llega a nuestro taller, nosotros nos encargamos de darle una atención completamente personalizada y trabajar codo con codo para llegar a una obra realmente única, hecha con una calidad artística excepcional por parte de un artista y con una calidad técnica y artesanal excepcional por parte de una empresa que lleva más de 30 años de experiencia en la artesanía del vidrio.
Mi nombre es Alberto Cascón, el padre de esta empresa familiar en la que nos dedicamos a la vidriera artística. La vidriera es coger como base un diseño, la elección del cliente, y nosotros fabricamos ese diseño en una composición entre vidrios y plomo o distintas técnicas que pueden ser con cobre, que pueden ser con metales, con aluminio, vidrio con vidrio. Aquí concretamente podemos observar este diseño que se ha realizado en papel y que este diseño es para un convento, un monasterio en Granada, para los agustinos de Monachil. Pues bien, aquí Maite, mi mujer, os la presento.
Hola.
Está precisamente cortando los vidrios para esta vidriera. ¿En qué consiste? Pues las distintas celdas o piezas que se ven en lo que es el diseño, pues cada una va de un color. Entonces utilizamos los vidrios de colores correspondientes a cada una de las piezas de la vidriera, el rojo, el verde, el amarillo, el azul, y una vez que se han cortado básicamente ya lo que pasaríamos sería al emplomado, a no ser que tenga decoración. ¿La decoración qué es? Pues la decoración es realizar sobre los distintos vidrios el dibujo mediante una técnica que es de grisalla, el dibujo correspondiente. Pues bueno, pues aquí se va a dibujar a San Agustín, a Santa Mónica, bueno, distintos santos que se han elegido para esta vidriera. Una vez que están dibujados en vidrio, ya pasaríamos al ensamblaje o al montaje de la vidriera. Os voy a enseñar el proceso en donde estamos realizando la vidriera de Central Hall, en donde estamos ahora mismo en la fase de la decoración. Se ha realizado el corte del vidrio y estamos decorando con grisalla para después emplomarlo. Aquí tenemos uno de los paneles, aquí tenemos el diseño seleccionado sobre la pared para la realización de esta bonita vidriera, y en donde ya hemos realizado el panel numerado como B5. El B5 se compone de una serie de piezas con degradaciones en amarillo y en rojos, y van haciéndose estas degradaciones mediante un producto que nosotros le llamamos grisalla. Las grisallas son unos polvos que se depositan sobre la superficie del vidrio y posteriormente se cuecen en el horno para que ese polvo que está ya realizado, pues por ejemplo aquí, pues podemos ver que eso no se desprende de ninguna de las formas. Las primeras vidrieras encontradas en la arqueología datan del siglo XI, tratadas con este mismo producto. Aquí yo estoy realizando la decoración de lo que es el rostro del bailarín que ahí tenemos a la derecha. Este no está todavía cocido, entonces yo lo he puesto preparado para que se pueda ver cómo, si observa aquí, la grisalla se va fácilmente cuando le paso el dedo y no está cocido. Esto lo manipulo o le realizo la decoración mediante un movimiento en húmedo de la grisalla, y con este esparcidor voy haciendo que se quede de una forma uniforme o de una forma degradada. Entonces, por medio de maestría y de mucha paciencia, se puede ir realizando lo que son las decoraciones de las distintas piezas. Entonces, una vez que la pieza ya estuviese bien, lo que hacemos es pasarla al horno. En el horno la introducimos y la cocemos a unos 690, 680 grados, de tal forma que estas piezas que ya están cocidas, ya le puedo pasar el dedo por encima, que bajo ningún concepto va a perderse la decoración que se le ha realizado para los degradados en las distintas piezas. Una vez que estas piezas ya todas están pintadas, pasaremos al emplomado.
Mi nombre es Nacho, soy hermano de David y hijo de Alberto. Y bueno, pues nada, comentaros que nosotros pues estamos muy orgullosos de trabajar en familia en esta profesión tan bonita. Estas son las piezas de Central Hall, que vamos a hacer una pequeña demostración de cómo se emplomarían. La idea es coger una verga de plomo que tiene un perfil de H, como se puede apreciar aquí. Entonces, por un lado de la H se introduce una pieza y por el otro lado otra pieza, de tal manera que el plomo es dúctil y maleable y se puede ir ajustando con cuidado. Se metería la otra pieza y después ya pues se cortaría el plomo por donde coincidiese con otro plomo que debería de venir por aquí, aquí otra pieza, y así continuábamos haciendo toda la vidriera. Y las intersecciones pues se suelda con una gotita de estaño, como podemos ver en esta vidriera de restauración.
Another thing as well was the actual window itself. I was given a template, and it's almost like a triptych. There are 3 parts to it. So I thought, right, that needs to be part of my inspiration. I want these dancers to be communicating, to be talking to each other, and something happening in the middle. So again, that is what then generates the design, if you like. It's always easier to work with limitations and boundaries than with a blank canvas. That's something I learned from my degree. It did change because when obviously the manufacturers came to measure, the designs changed a bit. So that meant I had to go back to the drawing board and reduce some dimensions and adapt the dancers to make them fit. But that's part of the design process.
Nosotros cuando la recibimos el encargo, pues nos pareció un encargo muy bonito, y ciertamente este artista ha tenido una idea bastante clara de lo que es la vidriera, porque hemos tenido que adaptarla poco. Tiene unas tonalidades de muchos degradados, tiene unas tonalidades muy homogéneas en ámbar y en rojos, y entonces es un trabajo que ciertamente tiene una complejidad fuera de lo normal que solemos realizar. Pero bueno, haciendo pruebas y haciendo distintas técnicas en las que, bueno, a lo largo de los años hemos ido aprendiendo, vamos a poder realizar una obra muy especial.
I've always been very inspired by churches and stained glass windows. I think they're a beautiful way to tell a story, especially when light comes in. And also when light is going out in the evenings, when light is lit up in the building. I think it's a beautiful kind of image. And again, it was historically a form of telling a story. Many people were illiterate, they couldn't read or write, but you look at the stained glass window and you could learn something about someone's story, usually something religious.
Mis sentimientos desde que soy vidriero, siento que la vidriera es un elemento menospreciado por la inmensa mayoría de las personas. ¿Por qué? Porque se le da mucho valor a las obras de arte que están impresas sobre una tablilla, sobre un lienzo, una escultura en mármol, pero las vidrieras, precisamente al ser elementos que tapan los huecos en las ventanas, en las paredes, pues se ha menospreciado y no se ha dado el valor que pueda tener una obra pictórica como es la de una vidriera, en comparación con la que se realiza en una tablilla o en un lienzo. Y sin embargo, yo la considero no solamente igual de valiosa, sino que en muchas ocasiones más valiosa, porque además de decorar y hacer una obra pictórica excepcional, además te hace iluminar la estancia, iluminar la vida de los que entran en esa estancia. Y concretamente veo que la iluminación de la vida de cada persona, aunque no te des cuenta, es una cosa importantísima y trascendental. No puede uno vivir en la oscuridad, sino que debe de vivir en la luz, debe vivir en una zona en donde sea de confort, y la iluminación es donde cada ser humano se encuentra cómodo, no se encuentra a oscuras en la tristeza, y además de la belleza que te puede dar, la luz te da alegría, te da bienestar, te da sosiego, te da paz, te da todo lo que necesita el ser humano para poder vivir feliz en definitiva. Entonces yo me siento en una profesión que no solamente realizamos belleza, sino que además proporcionamos felicidad.
I think as an event venue, it's a great venue. I always saw a potential in this place. That's why I always wanted to sort of push to see how much we could do and how we could improve it. And I think value-wise, it will give the community for weddings, any sort of other large-scale event. I mean, there's been cage fighting events, all kinds of. There's a Warhammer event happening as well. Anything that really you can think of, which you need a large area and a large space. I mean, this is a great place.
It's an amazing place. Central Hall was a nice hall anyway, it's big, but now with a very needed refurbishment for such a nice hall, it's just amazing. Like, the players have come in, international players from all around Europe, and every single one that's come in has congratulated us on how nice the hall is. So it has everything as well. It's got a really nice kitchen, big halls, big toilets as well, so it ticks all the boxes. There's nothing like this in Gibraltar. We've got other halls but are smaller, so when you want to do a bigger event like the one we're doing now, or even bigger, this is the place you need. This is the second time as well I use the Central Hall. I also do mixed martial arts, and we had a cage fighting here with a club versus clubs in Spain. So we also use this hall, and again, thinking about having a big ring in the middle or cage for cage fighting, you can imagine how big this hall is. So yeah, very happy to have this in Gibraltar, because we do need spaces like this for events like that.
For the last 20 years, it's been home to several old-time dancing clubs who still make use of the space. And also it's used for community use where possible, and nowadays with weddings, parties and what have you.
I think that what they've done to Central Hall, the renovation, is incredible. So they've almost brought it back to life from what it used to be in its former glory. So that was heavily part of the tribute I wanted to pay to the space, if you like, no? And the fact that I know that people in our community use it as a dance hall is quite significant. It's interesting that because of COVID, a lot of that has been put on the back burner. People haven't been able to socialize in a normal way. And funnily enough, I actually did my design during a 10-day isolation spree that I had to do, and that gave me the time, the quality time to really sit down and think about designing a stained glass window, because we normally don't get the time or the luxury to do that. So it's interesting how I also wanted, in a way, to bring about a message of hope. And so through the star, through the dancers, through the energy and the light in the piece, I wanted it to be a symbol of hope going forwards for the people who now use the hall in new ways.
Well, the club started in 1971 in the Catholic Community Centre by the previous leaders, who were Joe and Wendy Bonisi, with the blessing of Bishop Rapallo, who was really looking forward to having a sequence dancing club in the new premises of the Catholic Community Centre. I joined in 73, he joined in 71.
71, just after the club actually opened.
And then in 1975, the previous leaders left and we became leaders, and here we are, 46 years later.
Dancing was very popular, the same as it is now. It was more like sort of a social outlet. The man used to work, the wife used to be at home, so they needed to get something socially together, and what better than take lessons and learn some steps. There used to be a club run by the UK-based civilians.
It was more old-time dancing. There was no cha-cha-cha, no Latin, it was all on the old-time side. That's why lots of older people used to go before. Gradually, the Gibraltarians started to join as well. And then the community centre opened as well, so it became more of a Latin, old-time and ballroom sequence dancing. So it's been 46 solid years of, dancing, sometimes without wanting to, because we had small kids, bad nights, and many times we were on the verge of packing up. But because I lived with my parents, my father had already passed away, but my mother kept on saying, you shouldn't give it up. It's something which you're doing for the community, something which we're not charging, it's free of charge. And it was lovely to see the joy that we would give to the couples. So thanks to her, we were able to carry on. We're very happy with the outcome of the redecoration of the hall. It's one of the best places in Gibraltar to dance, and now with the new refurbishment, it's so beautiful. We don't really need to put up lots of decorations because it looks so nice. You can convert this hall into almost anything. First of all, the floor is wonderful, the size of it, and now with this beautiful roof, the ceiling looks so nice. For weddings, for christenings, for big dances, charity dances, I think Gibraltarians will realize how lucky we are to have such a big place and so well kept, so well kept.
Es el club de los lunes, y los viernes también hay otro club. Y yo hago los dos bares de los dos. Y bailan, y además todos son buena gente y se pasa muy bien, de verdad. Yo, el tiempo que llevo aquí, he visto muchas cosas buenas. Alegría, toda alegría. Gente viene a pasar una noche tranquila y son buena gente, todos son buena gente.
We dance every Monday. Then once a month we have on a Saturday a party night. So that makes good memories because it's more relaxed, it's a dinner, meal, and more friends come, guests can come as well. The anniversary ball, which is in February, then the end of season in May, and the Christmas ball. So obviously the memories that we make in this hall is like, they're invaluable, they're fantastic, and I hope we can carry on for many more years.
To be honest, it's a privilege to think that an artwork that I've designed is going to be up there, hopefully for a lifetime. That for me is an honor, and to know that fellow Gibraltarians can go there, can celebrate whatever they're celebrating, and have that influence, that memory that they're going to create, for me is priceless.
I think there's many memories that are made here. People always remember weddings. Oh yeah, I remember that wedding in the Central Hall. So I mean, I've heard that a lot. So I think that should be good to sort of continue that, and I think that the project and how it's developed should give the place a new lease of life, and hopefully more people and maybe a new generation will start to use this hall more, and more memories will be created.